Hey guys, welcome to Frankly Inspired. So today I want to talk about one of my favorite tools in my arsenal and is an angle grinder. So this one is a pretty affordable one that I bought probably a year and a half ago at Harbor Freight. It's the brand Bauer. And this one was probably like 25 bucks on sale. Um, so I use this tool a lot and I talk about it in some of my other videos of using recycled wood. So this is my go-to tool to be able to salvage a lot of the scrap lumber that I acquire. And I'll show you how I use that real quick. But before I use it, I want to talk about safety, guys. I see a lot of other videos of sometimes people using this tool or a similar one. And this tool is awesome because it does so much and it's affordable, it's small, but it is super dangerous. When you turn this thing on, it has centrifugal force, so it wants to like turn out of your hand almost. And where they put the switch, the on and off switch here, is very close to where this cutting tool that spins around really fast is. So these come with a guard. This piece here, it's like a half moon shape, is actually a guard, and it has a little clamp here that you can adjust it. I'm right-handed, so I always use it with my right hand grip is my dominant hand. And they also come with a secondary handle that you could put on it, which is here, and this screws in on the one end or the other if you're righty or lefty. So you could actually use it with two hands. So I highly recommend using two hands if you can. A lot of times the spaces that I'm getting into, this gets in my way. So I just learned how to use it with one hand, but I always have the guard on. I see a lot of people using this tool without the guard, and everybody is, an adult and can take the risk that they want, but it is so close to your fingers that one small hiccup and you can get seriously hurt. So safety is always first. You could always get another piece of lumber if you mess it up. You can always get another tool if you mess it up, but when you get to your limbs and fingers, you only have so many chances to mess that up. So use safety first. Guard on, eye protection, hand protection, and I use ear protection as well because this thing is loud, and when you're using it for a good amount of time, I mean, your ears are ringing for a little while afterwards. So this tool is so versatile. So what I have on here right now is a flap disc, which is a sanding disc, and it has a bunch of little sandpaper that's all like glued together, and it creates one big sandpaper. This one is a 40 grit. I buy these online. They come out to like $1 a piece. I buy like a 20 pack for 20 bucks, and different numbers. The lower the number, the thicker the grit, or the more coarse it is, the higher the number. So I usually get like 40, 80, and 100, or 40, 60, 80 for what I need it for. I take off a lot of material to make these old pieces of wood look somewhat new or usable. So this is what it looks like here. And again, the brands change or whatever. You can get it at the stores as well. They're probably like $3 or $4 each one of these at the store. And I would think each one of these, if you use it constantly, it'll last about an hour to 2 hours of nonstop work. So I can do 30 or 40 of these boards in that time, in about an hour's time. And then if you switch out the tool, I'm not going to show you today, but you could use this called a cutoff wheel. And this is aluminum oxide, and it's used to cut metal. So you can cut aluminum, you can cut steel, iron. I use it to cut rebar a lot, and sometimes other odds and ends. But again, this throws sparks though, so you have to definitely be careful not around anything flammable or your eyes and your clothing. This is an old one. I haven't used it in a while. This is a diamond blade or a carbide blade, and this was used to cut masonry, brick, concrete. Very versatile. Again, you can use rocks as well, stone. I've used this a bunch over the years. This one's an older one, but super cool tool, very versatile. So enough about safety. We got all that in, and you could use these. I use readers so I can see up close, but these work well as well. The changing tool to change out the blade, you unplug your machine, and there's a little mine has a little button here. You press this and it locks the wheel in one location. So then you can use these, has two little teeth on it, and you lock them in here and you go, left counterclockwise to loosen it, and clockwise to tighten it. This little screw here is the threads, and this little uh, gasket compresses it all into place. So depending on which grinding wheel you're using, there's different sets of this with the tool that you buy, and they're all a little bit different. Another trick is, I'm using this outside because when you do this, it creates a lot of dust, and I normally put on a respirator or at least an N95 because I don't want to be inhaling all this stuff. I'm only going to do this for a few seconds now just to show you how it works, but I highly recommend it. I'm doing it outside and it's super windy today and very cold. It's like 18 degrees Fahrenheit today, so super windy, so everything's going to go blowing that way. So I should be fine as far as breathing in this stuff. And another tip that I use, and I highly recommend anybody using this tool whenever applicable, is clamp your material down. When you're holding this thing, it wants to, move and grip this material. The tool wants to move with it, either out of your hand or forward, depending on which angle it is. So I clamp it and I give myself room to work. So I usually clamp the end of it, and that way I don't have to worry about it slipping on me. So that right there is good enough. So I'm just going to show you what this board here, and again, this is just an old 2x3, so a little bit smaller than a 2x4 grade from just weathered, being out in the weather, but I'll show you what it looks like. So I hope you don't mind the heavy noise, but so I could do 90% of it there on one pass. And then if this was a work piece, I would just flip it around, do the last little bit. And there you have it. So this is the side that I just did, and this is what it looked like before. So it's pretty noticeable. It does leave swirl marks. This disc is a 40 grit, so it's pretty coarse, but it's worn down a lot. So if it was a brand new disc, it would have taken that material off twice as fast probably. But this one's one that I've been using for a little bit now, and just for demonstration purposes. So yeah, the trick to this tool when using it with this disc is, keep it as flat as possible. The guard is going to be in your way, so you can't put it completely flat, which is a good thing. So you always have to keep and do a little at a time. Don't try to get too aggressive with it. Once you get the rhythm of the tool where it wants to go, obviously, 2 hands on it, the guard in place, let it do its thing, and then turn the material over and do the other side. So I'll just do another little pass here so you can see how the back would look. And on some of the scrap wood, you never know what it's going to look like until you clean it off. I'm going to show you how to do it when I don't use the clamp, because sometimes you're not able to use a clamp, but then you're using the tool with one hand, so you really got to hold on to it. So there you have it. And I do the corners. I usually round the corners off. Again, this is a piece that I'm probably never going to use for any project, but it does leave, the natural finish. And there's a lot of imperfections, any nail holes, screw holes, any splits in the wood will still be seen. Any knots will still be seen. But at least you have a relatively smooth surface that you can build a project off of, like I've done hundreds, if not thousands of times. And, some boards are better than others, but all of this stuff that I use is pretty much free. It was either shipping crates or pallet lumber, or sometimes recycled off a project somewhere. And it's all really, at some point, it was somebody's trash. And I take it and I make something out of it, or I try to. I like rounding the corners off just because the splinters, because you got to watch that. That's why you want to wear gloves. So I do round them off. That takes a little trick to learn, but you could do it with a router as well. But I'm using this tool because I have it already in use. So I'll show you that real quick. So now the corners are a little rounded. You can go more if you want. What I will say is when you do it, clamp when you can, grip this with two hands whenever possible. If the piece is big enough and you could just, if you're doing a large flat surface and you're doing a big piece, just use two hands. The extra handle that it brings, this is a 4.5 inch grinder. They have them 7 inches, 11 inches, and even bigger than that, but they really become more than the average person can or wants to use for safety purposes. Again, for 25 bucks, this tool does so much that I'm a fan. I've been using it for a long time. But again, the guard on, if at all possible. Do not take that guard off. You can turn it to a different angle if you're lefty, or if you're using a tight area that you can't get to. But I've used this for so many projects, and a lot of the lumber that I use is cleaned off with this. And you can go over it later on with a regular sander, either sandpaper or a orbital sander, and you'll get it much, so you don't have the swirl marks from the sandpaper, and then you can finish it off however you want, paint it, stain it, whatever you like. So angle grinders are awesome. It's probably, like I said, my most used tool in my arsenal for the projects that I use it for, and super versatile, economical. I mean, you can't really beat it. What it can do, just got to be careful. And they make it nowadays that are battery operated too. I don't have one, so mine is corded, but I love it. So just, again, be careful. Better be safe than sorry. Just got, measure twice, cut once. Well, safety first before everything. So, all right, cool.